Craving the coffee flavor you love, but without the caffeine? Kachava's got you covered with their newest coffee flavor. This all-in-one nutrition shake delivers bold, authentic flavor, crafted from premium decaffeinated Brazilian beans. With 25 grams of protein, 6 grams of fiber, greens, and so much more. Treat yourself to the flavor and nutrition your body craves. Go to kachava.com and use code NEWS. New customers get 15% off their first order. That's KACHAVA.com, code NEWS.
How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word SHOW to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word SHOW, SHOW, to 33777. Text SHOW to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 3.
Hello, America. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. The phone number is 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, I would be delighted to have you, and particularly those of you listening in Rome, Georgia, and the surrounding area on WRGA, one of the very first stations to pick up this program. We got to have a chat. Now, this is for all of you nationally, not just in Georgia, but this impacts all of you, but it's a Georgia story right now. There's a special election for Congress in Georgia tomorrow. Do you know what the turnout has been? 8%. 8%. The highest percentage, as I understand it, is Dade County, Georgia. Turnout is about 10%. And in Rome, Georgia, Floyd County, Georgia, the heart of this 14th congressional district in Georgia, it's only about 6% of the people have turned out. And that's really, really, really bad, just so you know. And it hasn't gotten a lot of attention. So what's going on here? This is the race to replace Marjorie Taylor Greene in the United States House of Representatives. The Republican's name is Clay Fuller. The Republican had been the district attorney in Floyd County, Georgia, which, again, is the heart of the district. And he is quite popular. He's a great candidate. The problem for Clay Fuller is twofold. One, there is a Republican out there who intends to challenge him. Clay Fuller ran in the special election, and he got into a runoff with the Democrat. And there was a Republican gadfly who had been in the state Senate, deeply unpopular in the state Senate, alienated even his Republican allies. I mean, voted against things like opposition to human trafficking and stuff like that, just to spite the governor and his wife, because she's a big advocate against human trafficking, and he wanted to protest it and all. And he's trying to run again because this is a special election. Clay Fuller has to also run in the election to complete the term of Marjorie Taylor Greene and then run for re-election all at the same time. So he's got a Republican challenger willing Clay Fuller to lose to the Democrat. You have the Democrats who are all in on trying to get the Democrat elected. You have Stacey Abrams' Fair Fight group there. You have national unions have come in. Black Lives Matters have come in. And the Republicans nationally seem to be asleep at the switch. So I need you to understand a couple of things. You have voters who are unengaged, and you have voters who are, well, ambivalent, I guess we could say. And the problem is you've got Republicans who, in some cases, are hoping for Clay Fuller to lose. You need to understand that's part of the problem here, is that the Republicans, you got some of them want Clay Fuller to lose because they genuinely believe that they can win this thing. So you got a special election coming up, runoff today in the 14th congressional district in Georgia. And the sad thing here, frankly, is that we're in a weird situation where, because of the nature of these special election runoffs, you're going to have to have the candidates running again. You see, they're running to fill the term of Marjorie Taylor Greene, which technically ends January 3rd of next year. And then they're also running to become the congressman after January 3rd of next year. And you've got some Republicans who ran in the special election and they lost, and they are now attempting to run in the primary for the main job, and they're actively trying to sabotage the Republican candidate who made it to the runoff in the special election. So you've got some Republicans out there who are actually hoping a far-left Democrat runs and wins the election. It's the most bizarre thing. The Republicans are out to eat each other and destroy each other. And the runoff is, I think, tomorrow. And the Republicans are actually getting a little concerned. Now, Republican pundits are saying, don't worry about it. Sean Andre Harris is the Democrat running in the congressional election for the 14th congressional district. He is a veteran and cattle farmer, and he has come across as far more reasonable than other Democrats. He learned the lesson of some of the Democrats out there not to sound like a socialist nut job. He should lose in a district that is about 70% Republican. Unfortunately, again, you have Democrats who are working overtime to sabotage each other when it comes to this race. And it's kind of appalling to see how the Republicans refuse to unite around this race. It's kind of appalling, actually, to see so many Republicans out there saying they're going to take it for granted that Clay Fuller wins. You can't take it for granted. Now, this transcends into the national issue. I want to play for you again this audio from Harry Inton I played earlier about how much more likable the Republicans are right now than the Democrats.
Let's just take a look at this. Net favorability. Party ahead at this point. Midterm years with the GOP president. In 2018, Dems were up by 12. In 2006 on net favorability, which party you like more? Dems were ahead by 18. Republicans are actually ahead on net favorability at this point by 5 points. So Democrats are just simply put running behind their previous benchmarks, and they need to be running well ahead of them if they want to take back the United States Senate.
You got that in 2018 when you had the Democrats running. They had a 12 points ahead of Republicans on favorability, 12 points ahead. And now the Republicans are 5 points ahead. But there's a problem. Democrats keep winning seats in swing districts. They won a Republican state legislative district in Florida because the Republicans didn't turn out. They won a Republican state legislative district in Georgia because Republicans didn't turn out. They ran a Republican state district in Texas because Republicans didn't turn out. Republicans simply are not turning out. And when you have motivated Democrats turning out against Republicans who aren't turning out, the motivated Democrats are going to win, even if the Democratic Party itself is not as liked as the Republican Party right now. We've seen it in Texas. We've seen it in Georgia. We've seen it in Florida. We've seen it in Virginia. We've seen it in New York. We've seen it in New Jersey. This pattern is holding up around the country that even though voters overall like Republicans more than Democrats, Democrats are the ones fired up to go vote. And that's the problem in Georgia with this district race to replace Marjorie Taylor Greene. The special election runoff is happening, and, well, nobody seems to want to turn out on the Republican side. It's kind of frustrating, honestly, to see the lack of motivation among people. This is from PBS, of all places. There are 571,000 registered voters in the 14th congressional district. 524,000 of them are active registered voters who vote. Only 47,000 ballots have been cast in the special election runoff. Only 47,000 votes have been cast despite the election happening tomorrow. So again, let's see. Erickson, can you do this? I can pull out my calculator. I'm going to use the actual active registered voters. So of the 524,000 active registered voters, only 47,000 have turned out. That's 8.9%. 8.9% is the total turnout in this congressional district because Republicans are not voting. The 14th congressional district is a sprawling district. It stretches from the northwest corner of Georgia through Rome and Floyd County down into Paulding County, trickles into portions of Cobb County, Georgia, outside of Atlanta, the suburbs of Atlanta. This district used to be represented by Tom Graves, then by Marjorie Taylor Greene. It is overwhelmingly Republican. It voted for Donald Trump. I want to say like 70% of the vote went to Donald Trump. And nobody wants to turn out for the special election. Nobody wants to turn out. This is a warning sign for the GOP nationally because the pattern has held up everywhere. You can tell yourself all day long that Trump is more popular than Democrats. You can tell yourself all day long Republicans are more popular than Democrats. You can tell yourself all day long these sorts of things, but at the end of the day, it depends on who shows up to vote. And who shows up to vote is going to be who determines the election. And right now, the Democrats are showing up to vote in the 14th congressional district and not the Republicans. Sean Harris, this is from WABE, the Georgia Public Broadcasting affiliated Georgia. Democrat Sean Harris, former retired Army general, is running against Clay Fuller, district attorney, in the race to replace Marjorie Taylor Greene. The deeply conservative district stretches from metro Atlanta to the far northwestern corner of the state. The seat's been empty since Greene resigned in January. Trump endorsed Fuller in February. Harris garnered several thousand more votes than Fuller in last month's election, but there were 6 other Republicans in the race splitting the vote and only 2 other Democrats. Greene beat Harris by 30 points in his first run for the seat in 2024. So he's known. And yet, we can't get Republicans motivated. And again, I realize I'm talking on a national show about a single race in Georgia, but I need you to understand this is a big race because it will add to the Republican majority in the House, which is only a 2 to 3 seat majority right now. They need to win the seat, and the national Republicans are not doing a whole lot. Now, I expect that, yes, you put a gun to my head, who am I going to say wins? I'm going to say Clay Fuller wins. It's a district that went 70% to Donald Trump. But keep in mind, we just saw a state House or state Senate district in Texas swing 14 points and a Democrat pick up a seat no one expected the Democrats to pick up because, 1, Democrats showed up, and 2, Republicans did not show up. And the Republicans were deeply divided. You have that level of division happening right now in this particular race with, again, Clay Fuller will be on the ballot for this special election, and then in another month will also be on the primary ballot for the actual seat. This is to fill Marjorie Taylor Greene's term, and then there's an actual election for who will be the congressman next year. And you've got a Republican running against Clay Fuller in the primary for who's going to actually hold the seat after next year. And you got some Republicans who are trying to sabotage Clay Fuller, hoping the Democrat wins so Clay Fuller can't run as the incumbent next month. You got Republicans undermining the Republican candidate Clay Fuller because they want to be the congressman. And so they're willing to, in a razor-thin majority for the House of Representatives, you got Republicans who are willing to sabotage their own to help Democrats so that Clay Fuller can't claim to be the incumbent in the primary next month. It is suicidal by the Republicans. And the pattern is playing out in every district in this country. Democrats have more motivation than the Republicans to vote, and we are risking a House majority with clever games when you got a competent conservative Republican who could win this thing. If Republicans simply show up and vote tomorrow, when this runoff is going to be decided, and yet you got only 8.9% of the voters have bothered to participate in the election so far. Hello, America. Welcome. The phone number is 877-973-7425 should you wish to be on the program. Don't forget to text ERIC, E-R-I-C-K, to 33777. There is a report out today, just so you are on top of it, that Riley Moore, Congressman from West Virginia, and Eric Schmitt, the senator from Missouri, want to make Easter Monday a holiday. Congressman Riley Moore, West Virginia, Senator Eric Schmitt of Missouri, they've introduced bills to make Easter Monday the 12th federal holiday, honoring Christ's resurrection. Moore notes 80% of Americans celebrate Easter. About 100 countries already observe the day off, from Europe to Australia. Can I suggest Good Friday instead? I realize that other countries honor Easter Monday. It is actually a very big deal. In fact, my daughter, she's on a spring break trip. She's in Vienna, Austria. She and her college roommate wanted to go to Rome until I was like, guys, the week after Easter in Rome is absurd. You do not want to go to Rome the week after Easter, particularly in a Jubilee year. So they went to Eastern Europe instead, to Vienna and to Prague. But Good Friday, a lot of people can't get off work on Good Friday to go to church services at noon, and Good Friday makes a lot of sense. I'm actually not opposed to Easter Monday, but Good Friday, given the significance, actually makes more sense. Give people off a Friday instead of a Monday as well makes a lot of sense the way the American work week works. So I'm not opposed, but I highly recommend they consider Good Friday instead of Easter Monday, although in fairness, we are in the minority of countries that don't celebrate Easter Monday as a holiday. Even when I was growing up in the Middle East, we tended to get off school on Easter and Easter Monday. Now, our school system, you got to understand, being in the Middle East, our weekend was Friday and Saturday, and we would tend to get off Easter and Easter Monday. We went to an American school, and they would give off those days. So I recognize Easter Monday makes a lot of sense. I'm not opposed, but do think the way America works, giving off Good Friday as a holiday would be more important and better. Now, what would also be great is the Eden Pure Thunderstorm. You can get 3 of them. You can save $200 at EdenPureDeals.com. EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is ERIC3, E-R-I-C-K, the number 3. Now, not only can you get 3 of them and save $200, you actually have a money-back guarantee on their odor elimination. If they don't eliminate the odors the way you want them to, you got a money-back guarantee. See the site for details. They get rid of particles floating in the air. They kill 99.9% of bacteria and viruses, and they also wipe out odors. EdenPureDeals.com, the discount code ERIC3, E-R-I-C-K3. You get 3 of them. Now, you can use them in your basement, your kitchen, your living room, your bedroom, upstairs, downstairs, your basement, your attic, your RV, your travel bag. They're small. You can hold it in your hand. It packs a wallop, even though you hold it in your hand. You can plug it up with a USB cord in a car. I've used them in cars, rental cars, where people smoked in the rental car and they hadn't gotten rid of the smoke odor. I got rid of the smoke odor, Avis, for you with my Eden Pure Thunderstorm. Used them in hotel rooms as well. I've used them on my back porch and in my kitchen when I fry stuff. They wipe out odors. EdenPureDeals.com, the discount code ERIC3, E-R-I-C-K, the number 3, no space, EdenPureDeals.com. Hello, welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. The phone number is 877-973-7425. General Kane had a lighthearted moment at the White House. General Kane was asked by President Trump at the press conference how many people took part in the rescue, and General Kane says, I'd like to keep that a secret. The crowd burst out laughing, and they also asked him, why were the planes destroyed on the ground? And he said, people are always more important than hardware. That's just something that the most of the world doesn't seem to recognize, appreciate, or understand, that people are more important than hardware. There are a lot of people who are attacking the military, claiming that this is some sort of a defeat, that we blew up planes on the ground and lost an F-15, when actually it's a sign of just how masterful we are that not only could we pull this off, but we were able to rescue those pilots. It's a great, great thing that we were able to do. And I personally just think that we should be commending the United States military for this. And I think it's kind of a damning indictment on the Democratic Party that very few Democrats have spoken up. Only 4 Senate Democrats have even attempted to praise the American military for what they pulled off with this amazing rescue. A movie is going to be made about this rescue. It got to. It's going to be a failure of Hollywood. And please, Lord, don't turn it woke. Consider, by the way, Project Hail Mary. I took my wife to see it this weekend. She gave it 2 thumbs down. If you know, you know. The alien in the movie is not able to give thumbs up, so thumbs up or thumbs down in the movie. She loved it. She really did. My wife doesn't like to go to the theater. She went to see this. She loved the movie. This movie is on the verge of bringing in $700 million on the cost of $149 million. $700 million made. The movie cost $149 million to make. It's going to be entirely profitable, and it's a good story. It is not woke. It is not for the left. It is just a story that supports humanity. And you know and I know that they could ruin this story if they wanted to ruin this story. And Lord have mercy, I am hoping they do not ruin this story because it is such an amazing one to be told. Rescuing that pilot. Now I want to move on, and I got to play you this clip. This is from CBS News doing a deep dive into the failure to build high-speed rail in California.
As we speak right now, are the funds there to complete LA to San Francisco?
The entire amount of money we need, not there today. But do we believe we can get those funds to get the project done? Absolutely.
How much do you estimate it's going to cost to connect high-speed rail San Francisco to LA?
Today, we estimate with the right optimization, just over $125 billion. I think $126 billion is the current estimate for that.
That's more funding than Amtrak has received in its history and still leaves a shortfall of roughly $90 billion.
That's a big gap to fill.
It is a big gap to fill, but again, we have an understanding of how to get there and to fill that gap.
A gap.
They have an understanding of how to get there and fill that gap. They need more federal funding. By the way, it turns out that one of the reasons they directed the train through the Central Valley is because the Obama administration, which gave out the original grants, wouldn't give out the original grants except to improve air quality in poor communities. So they would have had greater buy-in and ridership projections had they run it along the coast, but they needed to go through the Central Valley because they needed a jobs program for poor people and clean the air in the Central Valley. This is a little more of this CBS 60 Minutes expose of this boondoggle.
By 2019, costs ballooning and the timeline years off schedule, bipartisan political pressure mounted. Newly elected, Governor Gavin Newsom said this in his first State of the State.
Right now, there simply isn't a path to get from Sacramento to San Diego, let alone from San Francisco to L.A.
Under Newsom, who didn't respond to repeated interview requests, California decided to focus on that initial Central Valley segment, a route few clamored for and fewer are likely to ride, though the ultimate goal remains connecting Northern and Southern California.
When you have a project like this and when the budget no longer permits you to finish it the way you wanted to, you start cutting off your arms and legs.
Lou Thompson helped found Amtrak in the 1970s and until 2024 sat on California's high-speed rail peer review group.
We've heard people say time to cut bait. We've heard people saying what happened in the past is the past. Failure is not an option.
Failure is always an option.
Is that what's going to happen here?
No, I don't think so. But I think what will happen in the short range is that they will cut back and do the best they can with the money they have available.
Well, so just consider this, going back to the last hour. The Politico polling shows Democrats favor democratic socialism. And one of the aspects in the polling to describe democratic socialism versus capitalism is greater government involvement in society, in housing, in infrastructure and the like. And capitalism is less. In Florida, the Brightline capitalist high-speed rail program has built high-speed rail from Miami to Orlando and intends, I think, to extend it to Tampa, Florida. It is a capitalist success story. There was some public partnership, but mostly private enterprise. In California, the government can't build a high-speed rail program and designed it to go specifically through the Central Valley on a climate change issue, not because that's where people wanted it to go. In fact, most people didn't want it to go through that area and don't see it being practical. Capitalism, the free market, we should say, capitalism is the term Marx used for it. In the free market, people, through arm's length transactions, spend money more efficiently. In a free market versus socialism, it is people working for their own good in arm's length transactions that actually efficiently deploy capital to projects. In socialism, the government gets rid of the arm's length negotiations and contracts among people, and the government deploys the resources itself. And the technocrats are never as good at deploying resources as the free market is. Go back even further in the show today. In 1903, December 8th, 1903, experts told the New York Times it would take 1 million to 10 million years to get heavier than air flight. 9 days later, the Wright brothers took off from Kitty Hawk. 9 days after the experts told the New York Times it would take over 1 million years in order to achieve heavier than air flight by man, the Wright brothers were able to pull it off. And the Wright brothers did it in arm's length transactions in a free market without government involvement. The Wright brothers in the free market could defy the experts and take to flight. And in Florida, working in arm's length transactions through the free market, the Brightline could build a high-speed rail system. And in California, the government, in a socialist program of government control of the deployment of resources and the direction of resources and the spending of money, can't get a high-speed rail done. Ladies and gentlemen, the free market system, the capitalist system, is so much better and functional than what the Democrats want. I saw this tweet online referring to it as the everything bagel strikes again. This is quoting part of the New York Times. One reason was that when California applied for federal money, the Obama administration wanted bids that would improve air quality in poor communities. And so the $3 billion the federal government offered was not really to build high-speed rail. It was to begin building high-speed rail in ways that addressed air pollution in specific communities. The Central Valley is poorer and more polluted than coastal California, so federal funding went there, and so did the initial construction. But that made it less likely high-speed rail would generate the ridership, political support, and financial backing to even finish the project. Stephen Godofsky, who says the everything bagel strikes again, explains the abundance people are right, that this is what kills public projects, but don't realize it's inherent to public projects. Private projects don't run into this issue because if your only goal is maximizing shareholder value, you don't waste $3 billion of a rail line to nowhere. If you want to improve the supply side, the most efficient way to do it is to spend less money and lower interest rates so you don't crowd out private investment. No policy chops needed here, no state capacity or whatever. You know what California is doing now as its way to boost the high-speed rail project? They're saying it's a jobs program. It's a jobs program. This reminds me of the Milton Friedman story. Milton Friedman was in Europe after World War II, and he saw men digging ditches, drainage ditches along a highway using shovels. And Milton Friedman asked his driver in Germany what it was, and the driver explained that it was a program to build drainage ditches. And Milton Friedman asked, why don't they have bulldozers doing this and excavation equipment doing this? And the driver replied to Milton Friedman that if they used excavation equipment, it would mean fewer people working, because those machines were more efficient, would do it faster, but needed fewer workers. Milton Friedman replied, well, then why don't you give them all spoons to do the digging? Why don't you use spoons? If they use spoons to dig the trenches, you would hire even more people. The free market deploys capital efficiently. Some projects don't get built in the free market because the free market deploys efficiency. The high-speed rail program could have been built by a private company, but the private company would never have gone through the Central Valley because there aren't enough riders there who want it. But the federal government directed it go through the Central Valley in California. Now, for those of you who don't know what the Central Valley is, the Central Valley is a geographic feature between a bunch of mountains out in California. And so this Central Valley, it's actually very productive land. You can even see it on a map. You've got the Sierra Nevada mountains that are run up the eastern side there. And on the western side, you have the Diablo Range. And between the Diablo Range on the west and the Sierra Nevadas on the east, you've got a valley of very fertile land where there's a lot of drainage. The ground is rich. You got a lot of farms there, and it goes from essentially Bakersfield, and I-5 runs up the eastern side of it. And California 99, or I'm sorry, runs up the I-5 runs up the west side of it. California 99 runs up the eastern side of it. And we're on a number of stations there. It goes up through Bakersfield. It goes up to Fresno, Madera, and to Merced, California, all the way up to Modesto. Heads up into Stockton and ultimately reaches up into the Sacramento area where we're on KSTE. And they want this high-speed rail line to follow California 99, a highway. And if you actually zoom in on Apple Maps or Google Maps, you can actually find Highway 99, and you'll see there's this high-speed rail that runs along the side of it. And you got the Golden State Boulevard up there, and you see this high-speed rail line that runs up from Bakersfield. The problem for the Central Valley is it's not where most people want to drive. If you're going from Los Angeles up to San Francisco, you're going to want to go along the coast. Not only is the ride gorgeous, the Pacific Highway is gorgeous, but you're going to go up from Los Angeles, you're going to go through San Jose, Santa Rosa, or you're going to get to San Francisco before you get to Santa Rosa. And that's the way people want to travel. But California didn't want to do that. It was an inefficient application of resources. So you have this abundance community crowd on the left that's growing, and the abundance community is insisting that you got to have a greater range of government projects building things that are useful for people. But the Abundance Project fails when you get the government involved, because the government is deploying capital for political purposes, not for efficient purposes. They're building this Bright Line high-speed train from Las Vegas to California now. It's going to hopefully alleviate traffic and flights. And the way they've decided to build it is to build it from Las Vegas, following along Interstate 15 into California, and ultimately it's going to connect outside of Los Angeles at a rail hub. You will not be surprised to learn that the private project is rapidly building out in Nevada, but not building out in California, because in California, they're running into the regulators of California and the public sector unions in California, who are driving up costs and making it hard to do great things in the private sector. That frankly, the public sector unions and the socialist left in California simply don't want the private sector to exist at this point. They're at war with common sense in California. They can't build a high-speed rail program, but if you send them another $125 billion they're telling you they might actually start laying track for the high-speed rail system. Hello and welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. I want to play you a portion of President Trump's press conference from earlier. It turns out we didn't want people to know about the pilots. Someone from the Pentagon, we suspect, leaked it, putting everyone in jeopardy.
But these two extraordinary rescues, because it was two, and as you probably know, we didn't talk about the first one for an hour, and then somebody leaked something, which we'll hopefully find that leaker. We're looking very hard to find that leaker, and talked about there's somebody missing. They basically said that we have one and there's somebody missing. Well, they didn't know there was somebody missing until this leaker gave the information. So whoever it was, we think we'll be able to find it out because we're going to go to the media company that released it, and we're going to say, national security, give it up or go to jail. And we know who, and you know who we're talking about, because some things you can't do. Because when they did that, all of a sudden, the entire country of Iran knew that there was a pilot that was somewhere on their land that was fighting for his life. And it also made it much more difficult for the pilots and for the people going in to search for him. All of a sudden, they know that there's somebody out there. They see all these planes coming in. It became a much more difficult operation because a leaker leaked that we have one, we've rescued one, but there's another one out there that we're trying to get.
A leaker did that. In the social media world, the loose lips sink ships and could have cost some lives as well. I hope they find the leaker. Now, let me tell you about Swiss America. They're trying to keep you up to date on what's happening around the world with the economy so that you know faster than anyone what's going on and you can make right decisions for your investing. If you go to SwissAmerica.com/Eric, SwissAmerica.com/ERICK, not only can you sign up for their secret or special report, the Secret War on Cash, you can actually stay informed with their news. You can subscribe to their podcast and get all of the latest information well ahead of the curve so that you are informed and you can be the smartest person in your circle of friends when it comes to the economy, the BRIC nations, the global supply of gold and silver. You can even buy gold and silver from Swiss America. I bought gold coins from them. You can too. I got some really cool ones. I really do need to put them on Instagram. Nonetheless, go to SwissAmerica.com/Eric today. If you go to SwissAmerica.com/Eric, you can sign up, get the Secret War on Cash report completely free, mind you. Get ahead of the game, stay up to date on the latest news and information that can benefit your portfolio and make your retirement strategy smarter. SwissAmerica.com/ERICK. Sign up with Swiss America today.